We're going to be moving quickly now to session 2, where we will turn our attention to logistics. And to guide us on minimizing export shipment delays by sea is Mrs. Corinne Williams, who is a distinguished business professional, educator, and community leader, and is the Director of Sales and Marketing at Seaboard Freight and Shipping Jamaica Limited. In her current role, she oversees sales operations in Kingston and Montego Bay and spearheads innovative marketing initiatives for Seaboard Marine. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome Mrs. Williams to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. It's certainly my pleasure to be here with you. In the interest of time, let me try and go through quickly. So I will speak about minimizing some of the risks, shipping by sea. All right, so when we talk about shipping by sea, we're talking about moving goods across the oceans using cargo ships. Typically, goods are loaded into large containers that are loaded into large cargo ships. Now, there are different types of shipping containers. There are standard containers and there are specialized containers, and there are also different types of ships because, of course, we have bulk carriers that carry the entire carrier carries fuel or grain or some such specialized cargo. But okay, what are the benefits of using cargo ships? First of all, it's a significant saving and is the most efficient way to move large quantities of goods over long distances. So when you think about the huge ships and the containers, if it is that you're moving multiple containers, tons and tons of cargo, clearly that's the most efficient and cost-effective way. The capacity of cargo ships is great enough to carry the volumes of cargo that we need to move around the world. Fun fact, 90% of global trade goes via cargo ships. Another fun fact, the largest vessel is the MSC Irina, 24,346 TEUs, and that's equivalent of 4 football fields lined up back to back. So you can imagine what kind of capacity that is. All right, continuing the benefits. Global coverage. So most shipping lines and just shipping by sea allows global coverage. So whether it is that your particular vessel is doing a direct sailing to a port or it is connecting via transshipment, then shipping by sea gives you that global connection. It's versatile. It allows you to take literally from a pin to an anchor anywhere around the world, right? I spoke about the specialized ships that you can have bulk that just goes, cement, fuel, whatever, or you could have cargo vessels that carry multiple types of commodities. Despite, everything that happens, there are established rules and procedures in maritime that have allowed us over the years to be able to navigate and to move this volume of cargo with speed and with safety. So we are grateful to the IMO for that. All right, some important considerations, maybe first time or regular exporters. Think about in selling your product outside of Jamaica, what are going to be your Incoterms? Are you going to sell CIF, cost, insurance, and freight? So when you quote your customer, does that quote include just the cost of the goods, or are you going to quote the customer to insure the cargo and transportation to get it to them? You could do it that way. So it's all inclusive, cost, insurance, and freight. Or you could say, no, free on board. I'm getting it to the port and you are responsible to get it, pay the freight and get it to your door. Or you could even be a little bit more hands-off. You do it ex works. So this is my term of sale. I'm selling it to you. I'm making it available at my door. And then you are responsible to get it picked up and get it delivered to your door, right? So you have variations in the bands. The most connoisseur service you could give is the DDP, where you as the seller, as the exporter, you are undertaking for your customer that you will take all the costs, all the risks to deliver to their door, including customs duties. So you could be as hands-off as Xworks. It's available, you pick it up, or you could do the DDP. A very important consideration. Do you ship full container load? Do you ship less than container load? And I know for a new exporter, for example, maybe the order that you get is not a big order. It's not enough to fill a 20-foot container. So then how do you ship that? Well, there is the option of a less than container load. There's the option of consolidation. But how do you make that determination? Well, it depends on the order, but then it also depends on the capacity. So let's look. The smallest container that we have in our trade now is a 20-foot container. So the middle column says so 20 foot is the length, 8 feet wide, 8 feet 6 inches high. The next up is the 40 foot, but you notice there are two 40-foot containers. The second one is 9 feet 6 inches high. Over the side there we have high cube. The first one is the standard, and the second one is a high cube. So depending on your commodity, you may need it like some appliances, or if your commodity allows for you to double stack, then it may be advisable for you to use a high cube container. If it is that you only can floor stack, and you have to know your commodity, because if you're doing something like glass bottles, then you know you stack them up, then the bottom ones are going to break. So those things you take into consideration. And then there's a 45-foot container. So just going by the chart, the length, width, and height. But also, the containers have carrying capacity. How much cargo can go in there? And they also have weight capacities. Never mind the full stop, that's actually a comma. So the 20-foot container, for example, 1,170 cubic feet worth of cargo can hold in that. But that is, let me rephrase that. Not so much cargo, but that's the space in there. That's like air. That's like if you take up every. So realistically, if you have 800, 900 cubic feet of cargo, then you have a 20-foot load. If you have 2 times that, you have a 40-foot load. So there we have 2,390 cubic feet, but that's everything, air, right? So realistically, how much can you get in there? You can probably get 2,100, 2,200, and again, depends on your commodity and the shape of it and whether you can double stack or you can only floor stack. But as a guide, the other thing I want to draw your attention to, all containers have their capacity plates on it, and sometimes you see these numbers and they kind of look, what is that about? All right, so you see the max gross weight is in kgs and in pounds as well. So that will tell you the unit and anything that you put in the unit. It cannot exceed that because that is its capacity. Anything more than that, you know, Jamaicans say, you pop it down, you're going to pop it down, right? And it also has to go on wheels, so it also will depress the wheels. So you have to pay close attention to that. The tier weight is just the weight of the equipment itself. So when you put the tier weight of the equipment itself with whatever you put inside of it, the manufacturers are saying, you must not exceed this weight. This is the carrying capacity of the container. So, you know, pay attention to that, you know, how much it is that you pack in weight and in terms of volume. All right, so cargo consolidation. So we talk about there the full container loads, but let us say you have a small order. It's not enough to fill a full container. So now you're looking at consolidation. And consolidation is, you know, the superpower you never know you need it, because here it is that you can move a small order or even a bigger order, but not quite a 20-foot container amount. And that consolidation. So remember, we showed the capacity for the 20-foot container, and we're saying it's about 1,100 and something. So let us say you have an order and it is about 500 cubic feet. You know that you are probably halfway a 20-foot container. Now, it's not a strict rule to say, okay, you must do it as LCL. I would encourage you as a practical thing. If it is that you have 300, 400, 500 cubic feet, do this. Get a rate quote for the less than container load, however many cubic feet that is, and get a rate quote for a 20-foot container. Because generally speaking, consolidation is more expensive than a full container. So you may have 500 cubic feet, and what it works out to be, it may be more than what the freight rate is for a 20-foot container. So as a general rule, ask and get the comparison so you can make a better decision. All right. So this superpower of consolidation now, what it does is that we basically take your box, your crate, your barrel, and put all of that together in a container. So there are multiple consignees in a consolidated box. How is that helpful for you? For you as the exporter, it allows you to ship small orders, right? It's ideal for introducing new products to your existing market, but also you can use it to introduce old products to new markets, because those orders tend not to be as big as your established markets, right? The consolidator will provide the stuffing services. So basically, you will prepare your cargo and deliver it to the warehouse, and the consolidator will put it together for you. One very key benefit is that you only pay for the space in the container that you use. So everybody in that container pays for the space that they use. And generally speaking, that is still less than if you were to air freight the small cargo. So it's something to always consider. And I would say, get the cost for that as well and weigh it up. Full container, less than container, air freight with your dimensions. So just a quick look at the procedures. Like when you go to the bank, they ask you a lot of questions. You have to know your customer. So in this risk-based environment, so exporters, most companies will ask you to complete some kind of a profile. They want to know who you are, your address and all of that. That homework needs to be done. You make your booking, and I have two separate directions. One is if you have a full container, one is if you have a less than container. In the interest of time, I won't go through all of it, but I can make the presentation available to Delaney, and you can always go through. That again is going through the steps. I'm going to just quickly probably just speak about, so you make your booking. And when you make your booking, there are some documents that we give you. One of them includes the trucking order that will allow you to take a full container load an empty container from the port to go and load. If you're doing a less than container load, you will get a dock receipt, and that will allow you to deliver your less than container load to the port. The steps are a little bit different for both of them, but in the interest of time, I'm going to go through so that you can probably get it from Delaney, right? All right, some important documents. I think maybe Kelly may have touched on some of these, but as exporters, it's important. Your packing list, make sure that you have that in place. Your commercial invoice, your certificate of origin. As you know, there are some places where you can get special concessions. It depends. So if you're CARICOM, for example, you need your certificate of origin to go to another CARICOM country so that you get your duty-free access. Bill of lading, of course, which is your shipping be-all and end-all. And if it is that you are trading in produce, live goods, your phytosanitary certificates, if you have hazardous cargo, your hazmat declaration, your hazardous stickers, those are things that are very important. Some pitfalls, just talking to my colleagues on the port and some of the things that could cause you to have delays. Lack of appointment to pick up your empty container for loading, lack of appointment to return your full containers to the port. Both terminals require appointments, so ensure that your broker, your trucker, whoever is responsible, that they get that done, that you don't show up at the gate and you can't come in. And I've had this experience, and you know what? That's a bad luck worse than obia. It always happens on a Friday evening. Minutes to 4. You ladies say amen. You can attest to that. All right. So last minute return of containers without notification of overtime. Now I think both terminals are accommodating, and if as an exporter you're having an issue, they will accommodate you. They make accommodation for overtime. However, the overtime needs to be made within the regular working hours. So essentially, the port closes at 4. At 4 o'clock or 4:05, it is difficult for the port to accommodate you showing up at that time with no prior knowledge that you're coming in. So if you advise the port that you're going to come in at 5 o'clock or whatever, overtime arrangements can be made and you can be accommodated, right? The times are there. Late by the latest 3:30. I see Simone here from Kingston Wharves, so she can tell me if I'm speaking out of turn. But I said 3:30 the latest. You need to advise the port. I like that. All right. Thank you for that. Yes, there's a cost. So one of the other things I wanted to touch on was the marks and labels and the packaging. I think probably in the interest of time, I'll probably run through that as well. So Delaney can provide that for you. I've included some of the more common labels: the hazardous, non-stack, fragile. So for the protection of your products, you need to ensure that if these are needed marks, that they are there. Because the persons in the warehouse, or they really don't know what, they don't have the paperwork, they don't know what is in the box. So to say, why they put something on it, it's unfortunate, but they're dealing with many boxes and they don't know what is in them. So you need to be able to say, don't stack, fragile, or if it's hazmat, that it has the proper hazardous stickers so that we know how to handle it for safety, for your goods, and for safety for everybody that it will encounter. So these are some of the common issues that cause delays. Incorrect documentation, and we know human error occurs, but we ask you to check, double check, triple check documentation, and many a times to correct that documentation, amendments are required. And what does that suggest? Money. You have to pay for the amendment to make the adjustment. So it will cost you in terms of time because there's delay to make the correction, and it also costs you in terms of money because there are amendment fees. So pay close attention to that. We spoke of the income terms before, so it needs to be clear between you and your purchaser. What are the terms that your X-Works, CIF, FOB, so each party knows what their responsibility is. Cargo insurance. It's something that, we don't really want to talk about it because we shut our eyes and we hope that the cargo goes and there's no damage. But that is a risk. So I would encourage you to take on cargo insurance so that you're covered in case, of any kind of loss or damage. Last minute bookings, I think, and customs. So we are not doing that in this room. We are not the last minute bookings kind of people. All right, understanding the journey. That part of it is, whenever you make a booking, you're encouraged to ask, is it direct? Is it transshipment? Get the transit time so that there are no surprises and you know how to plan. And your purchaser knows how to plan and they know when to expect that your goods will be landed. So ask those questions. Local regulations. Whether it be what certificates are required, whether it be in terms of packaging, the wood packaging, does it need to be fumigated? Certain kinds of wraps, maybe black packaging or whatever is not accepted. And your goods get into that jurisdiction where that packaging is either insufficient or is non-compliant. They return it, or, maybe your seller has to repackage or something. So I'm encouraging you to find out what the local regulations are for your customer wherever your goods are going, so that you don't have that issue. It could be with the labeling, with the nutritional content, but that kind of background information is key. Just a quick story. I had a Jamaican really good product that went into the US, and they're trying to get in for, I think it was Thanksgiving, send the whole container, go, and it was particularly branded for that period. Well, the labeling requirements of the US, it was not in compliance. And you know what made it really, well, needless to say that Thanksgiving went, right? But it was also a product that was perishable. So the whole container, I honestly think that the gentleman, that he was just heartbroken after that, and he never bothered with the US market. So to avoid those things, just get the regulations. Track your cargo. Most shipping lines have some kind of electronic means to track cargo, container by BL, or track your cargo to see, where it is, especially if it is transshipment, where it's stopping and when it's moving from there. Always have your contingencies. I have more items on the slide, but I am going to make it available to you. Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience.
So at this stage, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Do you have any questions based on the presentation that Corinne just did? To remind you, we have the mic in the middle. If you could just state your name, the organization you represent, and the sector.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Kedin McCallum Ellis. I'm from Jamaica Flour Mills. So I noted that she had on her slide common mistakes. But what I want to speak about is, what do we do as exporters, importers? Because now we are having delays. So we do plan a schedule. We do indicate a booking confirmation that the shipment is going to be leaving at this time. But then you find that the shipment 3 weeks out and it is still not shipped from Jamaica. So what is it that we ought to do? And as you speak about insurance, I know that some shipping line charges when we return our containers late. Are exporters, importers supposed to be putting in an insurance for shipping lines when our shipments are delayed over multiple periods and times? So that's my question.
Corinne, you want to take that? You want to?
That's a deep, multiple layered question. The delays with your container leaving Jamaica, I don't know necessarily that insurance would deal with that, save and except that if it's perishable and if the items go off, then your insurance will cover it. But I just want to touch on something which is, maybe if you're not in the logistics on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't really come to your mind. But these vessels are calling multiple ports, and every port call, any issue that causes delay at one port, it's then delay, there's a domino effect. And so I believe I can speak for any and every shipping line when I say it is not something that we take lightly. It's not something that is desirous by us. But just the nature of what we do, that the vessel gets delayed at one port, and God forbid it gets delayed again at a second port. So if you're out 8 hours, 16 hours, you add another 8 or 16, you easily gone into 2-3 days after that. So I cannot tell you that we have the solution for that, and insurance will not necessarily fix that problem.
I just want to add that what's happening in the world, there are logistics delays. It's happening everywhere. a big situation is that the ports are congested. In the Caribbean, we're just trying to catch up. And so the capacity for the business that has developed is not there. And the delays, so this week we had a situation where a vessel came to Kingston, not Kingston Wharves, but there was no berth. And the vessel would have had to have waited a number of days. So they decided to go to another port, so they bypassed. So any shipping line, anybody on that particular vessel, because you know that some of the services are combined, the shipping lines share vessels. So any container on that particular service would have been delayed, and the shipping line would not have known that in advance. So I think there's insurance that is there's insurance that's taking place, but I think people gamble with it. They think, well, you know, do I pay this or do I save this money? And my recommendation at this time in the world, pay the insurance. It is high risk. So I'm not being negative. I'm not saying to you that, you know, it's all doom and gloom, but there are challenges, and it's just not Jamaica. The exciting news, you know, you always have to give a good upspin, is that both Kingston Wharves and KFTL, they're doing expansion in order to have greater capacity so that some of these delays won't take place in the future. And they've bought, Simone can talk about what, you know, what they have done and the money that they have spent to expand their berthing capacities and the space that they have to have containers. But KFTL, they are about to launch a huge project which will put Jamaica in a very good place. And there's something that I must say to you, that in Jamaica, we are at an advantage than other Caribbean countries because we're a transshipment port. I've said this multiple times. We're a transshipment port, which brings a lot of vessels here, which opens up a lot of markets to us. And I think we should look at the bright side. But insurance, insurance, insurance.
Thank you. Thank you, Cora Ann. Okay, I'm going to just take one more question, and then I'm going to invite, we're fortunate to have the two ports here with us, Kingston Freeport Terminal and Kingston Wharves, and I'm just going to invite each port just to make a few comments. So you can go ahead with your question, and then...
My name is Don Smith, potential exporter, right? So,
I can't hear.
good day. My name is...
It's on.
Okay. My name is Don Smith, potential exporter. So I had a question in regards to common errors or mistakes. So I'm wondering, in regards to the local regulation, the packaging transshipment, if you're transshipment, and would it affect the labeling if, say, you're going to Canada from the US, from Jamaica, and the labeling for US based on the product different from Canada? Would it be affected because of the transshipment? Would it be turned back if it's in the US? Or it would go forward? It would be good?
Raquel, you want to answer that? It's just,
Alright,
okay.
I just wanted to verify that.
All right. Okay, so I had said earlier that we're fortunate to have representatives from the two ports with us. And I'm going to just invite Mr. Clifford Anglin, who is the manager for gate operations and special cargo at Kingston Freeport Terminal, just to answer maybe two questions, because we have been hearing delays a lot this morning. So if you could say, what are the most common documentation issues that delay exports at the terminal gate? And if you could also speak to some of the plans to improve infrastructure that Cora Ann had alluded to. I'm going to give you a mic. Raj, if you could just... Clifford, sorry, you can speak to.
Thank you very much. I did submit some important information to your team that you could share regarding some of the delays that we are experiencing at the gates. I know many times, well done to all the speakers. I'm very impressed with the presentation from Customs, Seaboard. Yes, they are CMA's competitor, but we're in the business together, right? Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Now, let me just say, are there any truckers here? Any truckers? I know there must be freight forwarders and brokers. All right, so a very common delay is documentation. I will encourage those who are in the trucking business to work closely with the brokers and to understand what the procedures are for trucks to enter the terminal with an export. I'll just focus on export for now. First, a truck or the trucking company must be registered with the Port Authority of Jamaica. The trucker must also has his port ID. If these two criteria are not updated and met, they will not gain entry. Even if the container is legit, that is key. It's a very important security feature. Also, the appointment. You must have an appointment. Do not come to the port without an appointment. We cannot allow you in. We cannot process you. At KFTL, our systems are integrated. Unless there's an appointment in PCS, our terminal operating system will not process you. So I will encourage everyone, ensure that the trucker is on top of their game with these very important criteria. Also, cargo integrity forms. I know the exporters, you will have to complete your section. When the truck arrives at the terminal, we're going to look at it. We're going to ensure that the seal that you updated on the form is what we actually see. If there's a discrepancy, you will not be allowed. Of course, we'll escalate it because maybe the trucker had to stop at a rest stop and did whatever. But it's important. We have to safeguard the cargo that is coming in. So all of these things are important, to include the wharfage fees. Just make sure that these things are updated. It will ensure a smooth transition of that truck within the terminal. And we are now big on truck turnaround time at the port. And our KPI at this time, we are looking to improve it. We want all the trucks to experience close to 35 minutes, 35 to 45 minutes, coming through the port and leaving.
Okay.
For export, it should be easier because some of these trucks are doing dual transaction. They will drop off something and they will pick up something. Okay? So we are working on that. All right, so let's talk about the expansion.
Yes. In 1 minute, Mr. Anglin, please.
I'm sorry. All
That's
right,
okay.
so yes, we are expanding. We're investing big time. If you all should know the Westlands. That is to the west of the terminal. When you're going to Portmore to get your fish, you're going home, you see that empty land space. Yes, the government of Jamaica, through the Port Authority, have, blessed CMA CGM, right, with that additional space. So that development will start soon. We also have acquired 2 new gantry cranes, 2 of the most modern crane systems in the world, to add to the 16 that we have now. We have over 74 straddle carriers, and these are equipment used to move the containers horizontally. We have 74 now. We have 40 more coming by the summer. So this will be a good summer for us. And by September, the gantry crane should be here. We are also investing in empty handlers to handle empty containers, to stack them up. Trucks, chassis, all of that is happening inside KFTL. And we are expanding in terms of employing new people, straddle carriers, lashers, you name it. We are now over 1,400 people employed at KFTL, and we are continuing our expansion. Any question, any point of clarity you want me to focus on? All right.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Anglin. I'm going to invite Simone Murdoch, who is the client experience manager at Kingston Wharves, if she has any additional comments based on what has presented so far.
I support the comments made by Mr. Anglin, and I'd just like to identify my colleague Almeta Francis Johnson, Johnson Francis. Our numbers get called very often on a Friday evening. The cutoff times for full container loads being exported, most of them, of course, come in between Thursday and Friday to meet the sailing over the weekends, is actually what we want it to be 4 o'clock on the Friday. The latest a container can come in is 4 o'clock on the Friday. And as my team would have me reiterate, it's better for us to cancel an overtime because we know that some goods can't stay out, right? It's better for us to cancel overtime at 3:45 than it is for us to request overtime at 4:45. Luckily now, we're just dealing with 2 agencies between Kingston Wharf and Jamaica Customs, but nonetheless, the requirements are still the same. Just make those requests by 12 p.m. so that we can have the overtime in place. Another issue is the incoming freight for LCL, that is the cargo that is pallets, boxes, crates that are being warehoused for packing into a consolidated container. We know those containers have a weekly rhythm for Cayman on a Wednesday and Miami on a Friday. So our cutoff for those shipments is actually 2 p.m. the day before. And we know that shipping schedules can change, but if you know your sailing is Wednesday, you know that you must have the goods in port by Tuesday at 2 p.m. And the same for the Miami freight cargo, which would come in on Thursday before 2 p.m. So those are the main ones. But for us, in terms of full container loads being exported, our appointment system is fairly flexible. You have until half hour before the cutoff time, which is 4 o'clock, to make those appointments. So up until 3:30, you can actually make an appointment in PCS to bring in a full container export or to take out an empty to go and stuff. It is only the full container outbound imports that we have a restriction, and those restrictions is that it must be made 4 p.m. the day before for imports. But for full container inbound export containers or empty out, you have until 3:30 to make that appointment to pick up. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? No?
Okay, thanks, Simone. Thanks for that. Okay, before we move to our next set of presentations, anybody, I have a motor vehicle here with a license plate 0816KU. You're being asked to attend to your vehicle right away. 0816KU.
Thank you very much. I just want to point out an area of concern that we're having at the terminal. So we are accepting close to 50 export containers per day. And these are full in. And we're having a challenge where some trucks would enter the terminal and then the entry is not passed by Jamaica Customs Agency. So I'm asking the brokers to focus on this, because if the trucks enter the terminal without the entries being passed, we have to escort the truck out the terminal within minutes. And that will create additional delays and frustration on the side of the truckers. So we have to be mindful of that. Secondly, I had 2 examples this week, and they're very unfortunate. So the VGM is important, that declaration on the dock receipt. So wherever you weigh the container, or however you calculate the weight in the container, it's critical. We had a situation where on the dock receipt, the weight was declared 21 ton. When a verification was done, it was actually 36 ton. That was inside the container. This is important because when we store container vessels, you're going to create stacking problem. And when that vessel is on the high oceans of the world, it can't be corrected. So that importation feeds into the stability calculation on the vessel. The last unfortunate case, I'm sorry to be talking about these things, but I think it's important. is a trucker arrived at the terminal. The documentation was saying container A. When you look at the container, it was B, a different container number. So when, for the exporter's premises, yes, the truck drivers need to vet the documents, but also you have a responsibility to make sure that the right container is leaving your premises with the right documentation. All right? Thank you.
Okay, very important. Thanks, Mr. Anglin. I can't. I'm going to ask if you could, towards the end of the session, if you have any additional questions on this module, I'm going to ask you to ask those questions. But in the interest of time, because we are running way behind, and I'm going to see how we can try and catch up. So we're going to move now to our next set of presentations, which will be looking at minimizing export shipment delays by air. And this is a crucial option for time-sensitive goods and products with a short shelf life. Our first presenter is Ms. Camille Kisoon, who is the cargo sales support for Caribbean Airlines, and she will be doing a virtual presentation from Trinidad. Do we have Ms. Kisoon online?
Firstly, I'd like to thank Ms. Janelle Brown and Delane Morgan for making arrangements for us to attend this important session. So let me share my screen and get into our presentation. So let's get into it. Second. So let's get into it. Minimizing export shipment delays via air. I'd like to start with a brief introduction to Caribbean Airlines Cargo. Established on September 27, 2007 in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Caribbean Airlines has made cargo a core part of its operations, achieving remarkable growth over the years. Our cargo services are designed to meet the diverse shipping needs of businesses and organizations, offering reliable, cost-effective, and efficient transport solutions. This enables our clients to fulfill customer demands and stay competitive in a global market. The Caribbean is our domain. Right now, you can have a view of our all-cargo freighter schedule. Based in Miami, CAL operates a B767 all-cargo freighter with 5 times weekly into Kingston, Jamaica. We also move 5 times into Port of Spain, Trinidad, twice into Barbados, and into Georgetown, Guyana. So we've got the frequency and the capacity to keep your business moving forward. Why ship by air? For one, speed like no other. Air transport provides the quickest solutions for cargo movement. It reduces the shipment's arrival time from months to sometimes days and even hours. It's all based on your shipping needs and the urgency. Global reach in a snap. We have the ability to take your shipment throughout the globe. Kingston to Miami, easy. Kingston to Turkey, no problem, man. Kingston to Sydney, we've got the connections to get you there. High sensitive or valuable cargo? Whether it's valuable cargo or perishables, which require quick or temperature regulated transport, shipping via air ensures your shipments get to its destination safe, on time, and in quality condition. Worldwide shipping made easy with Caribbean Airlines. Now, let me walk you through how Caribbean Airlines moves your shipments globally through GSSA's General Sales and Service Agents, through interline partnerships, and trucking partners. Let's get into it. Expand your business reach from every corner, from the Caribbean to every corner of the globe. So you heard me mention interline. But what is an interline? An interline is a partnership between 2 or more airlines, which means that we have a formal agreement that allows for us to transport cargo on each other's flights, expanding the global footprint for the airline. Let me walk you through an example to make it clear. Turkish Airways has a shipment of textiles destined to Kingston, Jamaica. They were contacted by a supplier. What do? They contact Caribbean Airlines, of course. Turkish Airways is in agreement with Caribbean Airlines and knows that we have the capacity and the frequency to handle that shipment. So how the shipment travels from Turkey, Turkish Airways moves it from Istanbul all the way to Miami, and then from Miami we take it and move it to you to Kingston. Yeah? Let's touch on what a GSSA is. General Sales and Service Agents. They are a logistics expert that CAL is trusted and has appointed within a specific area to handle our business. So what they do is they take care of our customers' brokerage, they know the local requirements, they know the customs paperwork that's required. They basically plan and move your shipments with our help. And we have GSSAs, or General Sales and Service Agents, in China, India, the US, Canada, the United Kingdom, comprising of England, Scotland, and Wales, Eastern and Western Europe, Curacao, Santo Domingo, and Puerto Rico. Now, we are expanding. So let's touch on trucking as well. Similar to interlines, trucking providers take us there to the final destination. So sometimes it all depends on what is required. If it's throughout the US or through Europe, we will look at the options between an interline or a trucking alliance. Now, I should have given you an example of how a GSSA works. Now, a GSSA, like I said, they are appointed in a specific area to handle your business. So say perhaps you're a snack manufacturer and there's a breakdown. You need an important part from China to fulfill our order. So what do you need to do? You contact us at Caribbean Airlines Cargo. We put you in contact with our agents, and together we plan your shipment and we get it to you into Kingston to get operations back and up in order. So this is just a little view of some of the GSSAs that we work with. We have ASI in Canada, we work with Paramount in India, like we say we have in the United States, Curacao, and again, we are growing. This is also just a view of some of the interline partners that we work with. We work with Air France, Avianca, Cathay Pacific, American Airlines, British Airways, KLM Air France, TAP Air Portugal, Virgin Atlantic, Condor, Copa, Air India, TUI, and DHL. You name it, we ship it. Yeah, just few of the items that we are able to move. We move general cargo, dangerous goods, machine parts, perishable goods, live plants, and cut flowers. And not included, we also move a lot of pharmaceuticals, we move live animals, and valuable cargo. Now let's touch on dangerous goods. At Caribbean Airlines, we have a team of experts to handle dangerous goods shipments. We move shipments such as gases, flammable liquids, corrosives, and more. So long as I add the dangerous goods regulations and any applicable national requirements adhere to, we can help you get it there. Now there's one disclaimer, we don't move one type of DG, which is 6.1, which is toxic substances. More reason to ship with Caribbean Airlines Cargo? We have reliable service with affordable rates. We accept payments in USD as well as local currency. Yes, we accept payments in Jamaican dollars. Unlock hidden benefits like our loyalty and insurance program, and you can enjoy reliable capacity and frequent cargo movement to and from Kingston. Now, I mentioned earlier that we are cargo experts within the region, and we have the ability to handle heavy machinery, products used in the oil and gas industry, etc. So, what do you need to do if you have special shipments, oversized cargo? You make initial contact with us. We verify the weights and the tims to make sure it can fit within the aircraft. We also, oversized cargo must be created and securely packaged, of course, labeled properly with the shipment consigning details. You'll need to provide us with the booking requirements. You need to give us the sender, the receiving, the origin, the destination, the weights, and the dimensions of and the number of packages. Cargo calculates the tie-down fees, the amount of pallet positions, which is essentially the amount of space that this shipment occupies. Special handling, we will call the costs for you. And then also, we will book on the next available flight and we'll confirm the date of the ETD. Now, on to a little more exciting stuff. We at Caribbean Airlines understand that you trust, the trust that you place within us. And we want to give back to you. Did you know that when you ship with Caribbean Airlines Cargo, you can earn miles through our cargo services to be used to enjoy our passenger service? So flights, how does it work? Easy. You just contact us at miles@cargo@caribbean-airlines.com. You book your shipment with us at Caribbean Airlines Cargo. You pay for your shipment and you start earning miles. protecting your cargo. Let's talk about cargo insurance, because we've got you covered. What does this entail? Our cargo insurance product covers all risk of or damage, loss or damage to insured cargo. Some exceptions would apply, of course. Coverage from the time the cargo arrives at the warehouse until it arrives at its destination. Up to $2 million USD coverage per package and $5 million USD per shipment. Settlement in as little as 7 days, providing that all documents are received. We all know that we have urgent shipments at times that needs to be expedited. Here's how we can help. Choose your shipping speed. With Caribbean Airlines, you can select the priority that aligns with your shipping needs. So at the top, we have our H priority, which is must ride. It gives you top priority for bookings. It guarantees the space. It includes the confirmation emails upon departure and arrival. And it requires booking at a must ride rate. So you pay an additional cost. Then there's E. E is our GCX, which is our second highest priority. And of course, it goes just after must ride. It includes expedited handling and departure, notification, and again, a GCX rate. And then we have the X, which is the most cost-effective solution. While not guaranteed for the flight, it offers a competitive rate for less urgent shipments. Let's talk about the procedures for stress-free shipping via air. Let me walk you through how to properly book your cargo to avoid any type of delay. Firstly, contact us. Share with us the type of commodity. And we need to be specific about the type of commodity. We take the time to understand the needs and tailor the service to you. For example, we understand that breadfruits is highly perishable, whereas snacks is not as perishable. So we need to understand the exact type of cargo that you are moving, and we will guide you accordingly. Origin and destination, of course, we need to know where it's going from and to. The number of packages that you're sending, the weight of each package, the dimensions of each package, of course, the length with the height. And of course, choose your shipping priority. Let us know if you need it express, second priority, or if you just need it to be sent as a regular standard. Just contact us at cargo@caribbean-airlines.com or 1-868-669-3000, option 4. And let's have a chat and see what we could do. So you've completed your booking. Product is ready, and what's the next steps? You ensure your import and export documents are ready. With the help of a licensed broker, of course, exports to and from the US will require a CD2, a CARICOM invoice, and an airway bill that you'll get from us. Important to note, for agricultural exports to the USA, you must be registered with the FDA and DUNS. So, here are a few freight forwarders that our clients have worked with and that we've received expert reviews from them. So please feel free to reach out at cargo@caribbean-airlines.com and we'll be able to share this listing with you. At Caribbean Airlines Cargo, we make every effort to move your cargo damage-free from origin to destination. To accomplish this, cargo is moved properly. Cargo must be properly packaged to withstand the transport. We recommend that you select the packaging to withstand the transport. So, packaging guidelines for general cargo. Select a solid outer packaging. So, it could be a sturdy paperboard box, fiberboard bins, wooden crates, etc. You need to cushion your cargo with a specific type of material for protection, of course. And then again, let's touch on this. Label your package appropriately for shipping. Please have the correct information, who it's sending from and to. Make sure you get that information accurate, double check as well. And also very important, the proper labels to be used on the outer packaging. So let's walk you through how to properly package frozen goods. You need, again, a sturdy outer packaging. You need insulation. You need a cooling agent such as dry ice or gel packs. And definitely you need absorbent materials. So let me walk you through the tendering process, the delivery in Jamaica. So what's step one? You visit our Caribbean Airlines cargo, of course. You join the queue. You in a waiting area, you present your ID for verifications and you pay customs fees if required. Next, you proceed to the export warehouse with the approved documents, the shipper's letter of instructions, the cargo security declaration form, and the ID as well. Step 3, inspection and processing. Cargo is inspected, measured, weighed by the agent. The documents are sent for airwaybill preparation. Cargo undergoes security checks and final repackaging if possible. Finalize. Return to the front counter, make final payments, and sign necessary documents. Your cargo is now ready to be shipped. So let's go through the clearance process. So step 1, shipment arrives, you come to the counter to collect, you join the queue, and you present your ID to the agent or cashier. You make your payment, pay the freight charges or handling charges, and if a customs entry is required, you ask your broker to help you prepare it. Step 3, you present your documents to the customs supervisor. Customs officers inspect and release your goods and pay any applicable customs duties. You collect your cargo, proceed towards the cargo delivery gate and collect your cargo and exit the compound. Now, choosing suitable air routes and carriers. As many of you may know, it's not a one-size-fits-all. This is why we encourage you to contact us. Let's have a conversation and hear your needs and understand the risk involved. We work with you to find the best possible solution. And we help you select the best route into like carriers, given the specifics of your shipment. So what you need to give us is, again, the departure and arrival, selecting the routes. We'll work through that with you and opting to a reputable carrier. So again, contact us. This is our email. Let us know. Now let's go through reasons for delays when shipping. And I think we touched on this as well. Exporters should avoid failure to prepare your shipment. To pre-book your shipment, or you need to pre-book. Walk-ins will cause delays. Improper packaging of cargo upon tendering or delivery. Incorrect labeling of the cargo. Insufficient or incorrect documentations for the shipment. And you need to be timely with your delivery time. It can't be either too early or too late. And these are some common mistakes to avoid when shipping by air. Double check your documents. Ensure all the paperwork, the airwaybill, the invoice, the customs forms is complete and accurate. Use proper packaging. Use the sturdy, solid packaging, airline compliant packaging to ensure that your package can withstand the journey. Declare your cargo honestly. Provide accurate weight and full details, specifics for restriction of goods. Know the destination rules. Research the country-specific import-export requirements before shipping. Book and deliver on time to avoid delays by booking early and meeting the drop-off deadlines. So, common mistakes to avoid while shipping. You can ensure your high-value items. Protect your goods by securing our cargo insurance product. Request temperature control if needed. If cold chain options for perishable or sensitive goods are available, we'll let you know. Label your cargo clearly. Make sure that all packages are clearly marked with the contents and handling instructions. Avoid overpacking. Stick to the weight and the size limits to prevent extra charges or delays. And stay in touch with your carrier. Keep us in the loop. Let us know how things are going, and we will also be able to communicate with you. So, we've reached the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your time. Here at Caribbean Airlines, we like to say that we can move from a pin to a post. We are solution providers, and we just don't move packages, we move possibilities. So again, reach out to us at Caribbean Airlines Cargo so that we can help you keep your business moving forward. So we will now enter into the question and answer segment.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Camille. I'm going to invite persons with questions directed to Camille. I'll take the first question. No questions of Camille? Okay. All right. I just want to thank Camille for her presentation, which really provided great insights on how exporters can streamline their air shipments and avoid common pitfalls. Thank you, Camille, and your team for your presentation.
Thank you again. Have a great day.
Okay, so another option for moving your products by air is through the air courier service. And I'm now going to invite Mr. O'Neill Webb, who is the Gateway Manager for DHL Jamaica Limited, to deliver his presentation on this subject. O'Neill?
Morning. I also want to thank JAMPRO for allowing DHL to be a part of this forum. All right. Oh, okay. Point where? Oh, there we go. All right. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, both exporting and importing. I'm a senior dangerous goods acceptance checker and also a dangerous goods awareness trainer with 7 years experience. All right, so we currently have, or it's an introduction to DHL, currently have over 90 plus certified team members. We were established in 1988. We have 2 gateways, one in Montego Bay, one in Kingston. We have 2 own service centers. Currently, we have 45 retail partners. And these retail partners will assist no matter where you are in the island. All right. So no matter where you are in the island, we have these partners, we collaboration with these partners to accept shipments on our behalf, and our couriers collect from them daily. 2 regular flights, inbound and outbound, one in Montego Bay, one in Kingston, and we have exports that leave at around 5 o'clock daily. We have a fleet of 25 vehicles and a market share of 55%. We have 2 certified dangerous goods trainers because all staff have to be certified as a part of the responsibility. The shipper has to be certified as well. Why choose DHL Express? DHL Express offers fast, reliable shipping door-to-door over 220 countries. We have the greatest reach to enable your business growth. We currently have also in-house broker, as well as country-certified specialist customer service advisors. Tools used by customers, MyDHL, MyBill, and the DHL Express Mobile combines the tools service our customers most. ISO 9000 certification reflecting our high-quality management standards, and each DHL Express business partners is assigned an international sales specialist who is trusted advisor and support from onboarding to your shipment delivery. Did I go back too far? Okay. All right, connecting Jamaica with the world. So we are operating from 2 main hubs. Miami, which services the Caribbean, and Cincinnati, which services Asia and Europe, which with a reach of 220 countries and territories. So minimizing export shipments delays by air. Ensure proper completion of the waybill. Consignor and consignee details to include contact names and numbers are mandatory. A commercial invoice is mandatory for all export detailing the value of the contents. A nominal of fair value is required. Avoid vague descriptions. This is very important as well. Provide full and detailed description of contents to include the brand, the items, the make, model, to name a few. Contents must be itemized. All original copies of permits and special approvals should be attached to packages leaving the origin. Your TRN number should be detailed on your waybill, all exports as required by Jamaica Customs. Declarations can be completed by our in-house broker. All documentation for shipments will be scanned to destination to support the clearing the air process to minimize delays at the hubs. So this process assists. Once we collect your shipments, all those documents are scanned to the destination, so those shipments can be processed as soon as the flight arrives. Same day pickup booking, cutoff time, 11:30 to 12, depending on your location. And some benefits of using DHL. So daily flights, door-to-door service, online tracking, using hub model enabling transit times, one party handling pickup and delivery, one single invoice, clearing the air, faster customs declaration, reliability, and branded boxes for professional imaging using DHL solutions. So we have all size boxes for our e-commerce customers. And that's it, short and spicy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Webb, for those helpful tips, including the benefits of shipping via DHL. Are there any questions of Mr. Webb? If you could just go to the mic and introduce yourself, state your organization and the sector you represent.
Good day. My name is Lyndon Johnson, Technosol Limited, agro-processor. All right, just want to, if you could walk a little bit more regarding dangerous goods. First of all, the issue of the classifications. We currently do certain extracts, essential oils, and we might have a continuing interest. Let us say going after lemongrass oil or something where flashpoint may render the thing a flammable liquid. Now, A, the issue of the certification of the shipper. B, the matter of just a step-by-step process one would need to go through. Let us say from exploring the possibility of going into this sector to actually integrating what we do with, say, what you require, including your lead times and other agencies which may be involved. I don't know if you could perhaps, to the best you can, offer some.
Yes. Online training is offered by DGI International. So you can actually sign up from there. Once the certification is processed, you apply for an account, because you have to be an account customer to move the dangerous goods shipments based on responsibilities. And the item that you will be shipping will be class 3. If it's a high flashpoint, then just the MSDS, the material safety data sheet, with the only thing that will be required to determine how dangerous the item is.
In terms of packaging?
Packaging, you are responsible for the packaging.
So this will be indicated by DJI?
Yes.
Or you, your company?
Well, the shipper is always just responsible for everything.
No, man, I'm
the
not
operator is just responsible for moving the item
to
the destination.
But if DHL is going to move it, would you have your specification as to what would be minimum
Definitely.
you would accept?
Yes, we have a checklist that is completed upon acceptance.
I'm going to invite you at the end of the session to stop by the information station, which is outside of this room. DHL has set up an information station, so I'm going to invite you to stop by that station to get some additional information.
Yes, because it's a wide subject.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good day, Nicole Jarrett, Creative Hands. I'm in the creative industry. I was just wondering, there are a lot of shipping companies now. You can ship things to America or things being shipped here. I just wondering, DHL as a name brand name, as a household name, what is DHL doing to keep above the competition in the market? Because there's a lot of shipping companies. Just wondering what DHL is doing. I know you say you have 55% market share, but I just wondering what you're doing to keep, because you know it's on.
Well, we provide next day delivery to Canada, the US, and the Caribbean, and faster moving time through the hubs.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again, Mr. Webb. And I just want to acknowledge Mr. Tim Mong Mong, the country manager for DHL, who is also here with us. Okay, thanks. So I should also mention that another option to transport your products, especially for smaller exporters, is via the postal service. And I'm going to just invite the Deputy Postmaster General, who is here with us, Mr. Kerry Brown, to speak very briefly in a minute on your solutions for working with exporters to minimize export risks. I'm going to give you the mic.
When you ship through the post, there's an application, customs declaration system. What this does for you is that you enter name, contact information, the type of goods you are shipping, and it tells the customs authority in the country to which you are sending what is coming. They use that as their risk management tool to determine, one, are we going to take this into our country? Two, do we need some clarification as to what you're shipping? Or three, they can tell you, do not load. Fortunately for us, we have not had a do not load situation so far, but I'm saying if you're shipping something that is not in keeping with the post office guide, certain types of dangerous goods, certain types of liquid containing a certain amount of alcohol, and this country doesn't accept, what it can do is that depending on how much is in that particular dispatch or consignment, we can maybe remove a mail sack, or we might have to remove the whole dispatch. So it will prevent other exporters as well, because everybody is shipping small, and so you'll have maybe several exporters in one receptacle. The other thing too is, which we see very often, and we're going to see how we can address it best, is that sometimes when persons come to export at the post, so it might be not for sale, but it's a private thing. And given that the containers don't come, quote unquote, open, meaning the box are so that you're shipping it itself. Sometimes when it reaches the country of origin, even though you have declared it in the customs declaration, they say, okay, fine. They look at the bottle and they say, okay, fine, this has X amount of alcohol. We're sending it back to Jamaica. And it's a cost to you, it's a cost to us, because it's goods returning, and so whichever airline it is coming on, but we would have sent out, it's coming back, even though the administration sending it back would more than likely bill us, because it's return mail. So what we ask persons to do, and the information is available on our website as well, is to just see, and we try and advise customers, but sometimes, as was said by the JC earlier, there are some persons who won't play above board. So they're going to tell you, no man, it's cheese tricks. Got people ship cheese tricks to their children in the States and so in college. But when you check it out, it might be something that should not be in there, and because we're not opening, and sometimes some of these things, even though we work very closely with customs, because everything that is exported is screened by customs, but sometimes depending on the substance, you might not pick it up as to what it is in terms of, unless you do an intrusive search to say, okay, fine. If it doesn't show what you say now on the risk profile that what customs has, there would be no reason for you to open it. But then when you reach to the country of destination and they look at the ingredients, they say, no, we don't want this here. Right? So we know that there are going to be actors that are going to try their best to get things out. And thank God for the partnership with customs, we are working to deal with that. But also, And if you're not sure, check with our customer service, check with your local post office. And if you still don't get the answer, you think you have linking to headquarters, because there are certain substances as well that you should not be attempting to ship. And some persons will do it because they are bad actors, some persons will do it because they just don't know. So that's my few minutes. So.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Brown. Any questions of Mr. Brown? Quickly before we move to the final presentation.
And of course, I'll be here for a little while, so if you have any additional questions, you can reach out to me.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks again, Mr. Brown, for those inputs. Okay, so in the interest of time, we're going to be moving to our final presentation for today, which is going to bring together in a practical way everything that we have heard so far this morning. So I need you all to pay attention to this final presentation. So I'm going to invite Mrs. Kelly McIntosh to return to the podium to speak to us on how exporters can successfully manage export risk. Kelly?
Thank you, Delane. And thank you for the excellent questions, participants, and for the excellent presentation so far, which have yielded some practical must-dos and must-not-dos. Is your head swimming yet? It kind of, how do I start? Where do I go? Anything jump out at you yet? How can you best mitigate export risk? You remember everything you hear, you're going to put on that filter of how do I download it? How do I translate it into my next actionable step? So put on that hat. Remember, I have a few questions to ask you at the end. And let's get into it. So the risk categories. Think of the risks that are applicable to your exports in categories. Why? Because it helps to order your thinking. You can't just say, oh, the documentation, oh, make the booking. What is this doc receipt? How I must package this? What about the labeling? Think of your risks. Start by breaking it down into categories. That means you are less liable to overlook something that might be important. So just by way of quick reminder, remember your regulatory and compliance risks. Is this product appropriate for the market that it's going to? Is it labeled appropriately? And by the end of this presentation, I will have listed some resources for you to go and find out. Think of the logistics risks. We heard some questions from participants about delays by sea. How do I know if I should send it in a 20-foot container or consolidate it as a less than container load, LCL? Should I do this by air? Should I use a courier service? Should I use an airline? Risks. Is your product perishable? Is your consignment time sensitive? Think about the disrupted supply chains. You need to be able to get your inputs to make your product to export. And supply chains are crazy. Cora spoke about the delays that are happening the world over now. The transshipments, the shipping lines continue to hold the handle and we hold the blade, we the end users. It's a reality though. And there's nothing to be gained from wishing and hoping. You have to be aware of what's happening and form your plans. How do I mitigate this? Think about your costing and pricing. Are you aware of all the attendant costs to exporting? Your cost doesn't just include the cost of your lemongrass oil to make it. Your costs, and I'm going to go into just a little bit of detail on your costing and pricing. Because where are you exporting again? If you make money, think of your route to market. That's a fancy way of saying, how is your product going to get into the hands of the consumer? Are you going to use a distributor? How do I know that I have selected the right distributor? Is it going to be promoted? How am I going to get paid? Right? There are geopolitical issues. There have been so many changes since the beginning of this year. And sometimes you are going to be the recipient of indirect risk associated with these changes. Quick example. So I import stuff from China. Now, all the talk about tariffs on China don't impact me. I'm in Jamaica. We haven't had any change to our tariff situation with goods originating in China. But a huge market for China has put tariffs on, taken them off, put them on again. And the other day, there was announced a 90-day moratorium on tariffs for goods originating out of China. I woke up that morning and I said, oh my goodness, with this 90-day moratorium, guess what's going to happen? Everybody in America is going to rush to get their goods in the next 3 months. What is that going to do? That's going to put a strain on available space out of China, which means my little goods might get left. So what did I do? I called my China supplier and I said, ship me 3 months extra stock now. Well, by the time they made the bookings, the freight rates had already gone up. And freight rates out of China are back to COVID levels right now because there is a demand for space, because a big market keeps changing. And the worst thing for business is what? Uncertainty. Okay. Loss and reduction of traditional export markets. I'm so happy that Caribbean Airlines is a participant today, because sometimes we overlook CARICOM as a potential market. And now, I mean, nobody is saying turn your back on America. That remains a big market. The diaspora is there. Grace Kennedy, for example, Grace Kennedy's largest demographic market segment in the States is the diaspora, people who want a taste of home. So we can't just pretend that, okay, America isn't there. But we would be silly to not start contemplating reconfiguring our business around the United States. So don't ignore them, but start contemplating other possibilities. So when we think about risk, I'm not spending long on this slide. I want you to listen to me. When you think about risk, 2 elements need to be taken into account: the likelihood of something happening and the impact of it happening. Any sort of risk that you're contemplating, because that will determine how you prioritize and how you put in place mitigation effort, okay? Think about this, because my question at the end is going to be, what are the biggest risks that you face? Okay, and the biggest risk depends on the likelihood of it happening, and if it happens, what is the impact? So some of the risks that I have listed here is my product compliant in the destination market? So if it isn't, then is it at risk of being denied entry? They're going to destroy it, they're going to send it back. What's the likelihood of it? Hopefully, I put a 0 there, because hopefully before you've spent all this money to export it, you would have determined that it is indeed compliant. So the likelihood might be 0 if you have done your due diligence. But if it happens that it is not compliant, the impact of a non-compliant shipment is almost catastrophic. I don't want to be dramatic, but it's going to cost you a lot in terms of actual money and also your reputation and the possibility of doing repeat business. Another risk might be, is your certificate of origin in place? Why is that important? Why is your certificate of origin important? Because that can potentially make your product more competitive depending on the market that it is going into. Okay? You need to know this. You need to know what benefits accrue to my product being a product of Jamaica. In CARICOM, you get a duty preference, but for you to get that, your product has to say product of Jamaica. That's a certificate of origin question. So forget this academic risk assessment template, the risk, the likelihood, the impact. You know what is the best thing for you to do, exporters? Make your checklist. Even the most sophisticated airline pilots in the most sophisticated aircraft, they do not move without a checklist. They sit in the cockpit, they have a list of things that they need to check before they take off, and they tick off each one. Who are we not to be using a checklist? And so the checklist is going to answer questions such as this. What is my product? Where is it going to? Because America has different rules from Trinidad, which has different rules from China, which has different rules from Germany. So you need to know where it is going to, and then from that will flow, what's the documentation that's needed? Make a sub-list. Don't just say, yes, documentation in place. You have to do your checklist from certificates, permits, invoices, dock receipts, bill of lading or airway bill, right? Packing list. You have to have that list. What is coming through to you clearly? It's not just based on what I said a while ago. The need to have a guide. If it isn't clear to you by now that you need, the law doesn't say it, the law don't say you need a customs broker for export. You definitely need one for import. But isn't it clear to you by now that for your first couple of shipments, and perhaps because the world is so dynamic right now, even for all your exports until stability is re-established, you need a guide. Do not do this alone. You don't have to get, and you know what, who that guide is? Your customs broker. This is a plug for using a customs broker. This is what they do. They are au fait with the documentation that is needed and the procedures that are needed for you to follow. What are the export costs? Where is each cost payable? And I'm going to break down the export cost to you to show you all the different costs that come up and where you need to pay them to. How will you ship? How are you going to get paid for your goods? When will you get paid for your goods? So you have your checklist template. The product, the market, the documents needed, your costs. You need to know what the costs are. The freight arrangements and the payment for your product. So, I'm not going to repeat what my fellow presenters have presented, but I'm going to highlight what I think are important things for you to bear in mind. Properly package your products. You can get guidance. We got guidance from DHL, we got guidance from Caribbean Airlines. The shipping lines will guide you. How do you properly package your products so that they are compliant and protected? Label clearly in accordance with the rules. Make bookings in advance. Getting your product out of your warehouse onto the carrier is like a dance. You have to coordinate. There are many different players. Timing is important. You heard the importance of making an appointment with the ports. You heard the importance of filing your customs entry in a timely manner to minimize delays. You heard the importance of, especially if your product is perishable, but even if it is not, the export process, the process of getting it from your warehouse onto your carrier of choice is like a dance. It requires setting appointments with the various stakeholders and it coming together. So make bookings in advance and coordinate the loading and delivery to honor the deadlines. And insure your shipments. It is a cost worth doing. Quick story, years ago, who remembers Hurricane Sandy? This was a couple years ago. Hurricane Sandy hit Jamaica. You remember what was odd about Hurricane Sandy? Hurricane Sandy also mashed up the port of New York. It was the same storm that went up the eastern seaboard. At the time, I was working with a company, and when my light never come back yet, you know, Sandy gone up to the port of New York. The company I was working with had some product at the port of New York, and the storm caused the containers to go into the sea. Hurricane Sandy. It was the first time that that had ever happened where we lost containers consigned to our customers in that market. Each container at the time, I'll never forget, was valued $137,000 US. That's a lot of money. It was a lot of money then. It remains a lot of money now. Luckily, we had insurance. So all along we wondered, why we pay insurance on all these shipments? Because even if the likelihood of a risk is low, the impact can be devastating. And for $137,000, what's the likelihood of a hurricane knocking over this container into the sea? It's 0 or 1. You know, in New York, also. Maybe in Jamaica, yeah, but New York in October, nah. But the impact was great. And so we were able to minimize the loss. We still suffered loss because it was a food item and people don't eat retroactively and all of these things. But we were able to recoup the cost of the product. Coordinate shipments expertly. Do your customs filing, liaise with the shipping line. You're not going to remember everything, you know, with your dock receipt, your cargo inspection form. That's why you're getting a broker. Get a broker. That's what they do. And make that checklist. Keep records. You heard about the AEO program, and maybe you're not at the stage yet where you put that in. But one of the benefits of the AEO program is that it allows you to put some structure into your business. So as you grow and you get to that threshold of 1 container of exports per year, and hopefully more, if you follow the AEO guidelines where you have to document your processes, you have to keep your records so customs can review, you benefit as well. Because what you will have done is that you have imposed order on your operation. Keep your records. Follow your checklist so that your records are auditable, so that you can look back, you can document your process, and you can have everything in order until it becomes easy for you to do. Each shipment must have its own file. You want practical? Here is practical. Each shipment must have its own file. You can come up with a template, a checklist of things, and you can put it in your paper file, or you can do it electronically. And you have the date the file is opened, the product details, all your booking details, the customer details, payment information including receipts, all documentation including your invoices, your packing lists, airway bills, certificates. Put on your shipment tracking information. What is the departure date? What is the transit time? What is the expected route? And what is the ETA, the estimated time of arrival in the destination market? And also, to close the shipment, You have to put the actual arrival time in the market. This establishes a record that will allow you to replicate the process for future shipments and also to serve as a record for any audits that might be necessary as you grow and you want to regularize in terms of becoming an AEO player. So, 7 common pitfalls to avoid. I hope you're thinking about your operation or what you would like to do and thinking about the biggest risk that you can see so far. And not only thinking about the biggest risk, but what can I do to prevent it from happening? We call that mitigating. So 7 common pitfalls to avoid. Not knowing the applicable regulatory requirements. See, the other day, I don't know if you saw it, the other day on TVJ News, nightly news, there was a group of farmers who were farming, guess what? Seaweed. Did you know? And I thought, this is interesting. This wasn't sargassum that they were collecting. They were literally farming seaweed. So they set up lines in the sea, anchored it, put a piece of seaweed on it, and in 6 weeks they had a harvestable crop. And I was like, what? Why are they doing that? For export. And I thought, huh? Who knew? And one of the farmers said they had had a whole 3-day workshop with the European Union who took them through the regulatory requirements, how to package it. They could put them on to potential markets. I'm saying the possibilities are there, the risks are there, but the information is also available for you to plan, form your contingencies, and do. So one of the common pitfalls is that players are not aware of the regulatory requirements. We are here, JAMPRO is here, as well as the other stakeholders who are participating today to guide you. And hopefully, if you are not clear about the regulatory requirements for your specific product right now, hopefully by the time I finish speaking, which will be in a few minutes, you will know where to go to find this information. You need to know. Another pitfall is exporters not taking advantage of trade agreements. How can you know what is applicable to you? The trade board exists, and there are people there who have the knowledge, who are willing to guide you. A call, a visit will yield the information. Another pitfall, I'm going to repeat it, not using a customs broker to manage the actual process. Use the broker. The broker is your personal guide. Another pitfall, you might have a small consignment size, and you're wondering, how can I do this alone? You might decide to go by air, which is a valid option, but it may not be necessary depending on the nature of your product. Another option that might work for you is to send it LCL, consolidate. You know, something that won't, or Jamaica Post. Very true, very true. That is true. That is true. I have used Jamaica Post to send product to my kid overseas. The other pitfall that you must avoid is inaccurate costing of your products. Number 6, you need to select your appropriate distributor who will pay on time and in full and position your product so that it grows. And number 7, you have to stay aware of changes here and changes abroad. What kind of changes? Changes in duty regimes, changes in regulatory requirements or packaging requirements. And again, we have the resources, so you know where to go to stay abreast. Is your product the right product for your target market? Some exporters fail to adapt their products to take into consideration the cultural nuances and tastes of the destination market. Why is your product special? Is it differentiated? How? And once you are convinced that it is an appropriate product, then you need to make sure that it is positioned so it gets to your desired consumer. But this is not a marketing session, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, just to know that you need to, okay, regulatory requirements, get information from the destination market. Your customer might know, you know. Your customer is a good source of information as to what is necessary. Chances are they import a similar product from another supplier. They know what's necessary. The JMEA is also a resource that you can tap into to find out what's needed. JAMPRO can guide you. Use a customs broker. Relevant agencies, depending on the nature of your product, could be the Bureau of Standards. They're excellent for labeling and so on. The Veterinary Services Division, depending again on the nature of your product. And the Trade Board. And the USA has specific requirements, and you may need to become au fait with their rules of entry and whether you need FDA registration or not. Trade agreements can give your product a competitive edge. Check the Trade Board. I'm not going to go over this again in a lot of detail. Here's what the customs broker will do, though. It will give you the proper sequence of events. Remember, the coordination is like a dance. The customs broker will say, do 1, 2, 3, make notes when they're talking, form your checklist. They will help you to navigate the shipping options. Corinne gave a very good rule to decide on what works for you if cost is the factor. If your product is perishable, the decision has already been made, kinda, you know? It's air, if it's time sensitive. But if it's not perishable and it's not a time sensitive, then it comes down to cost and time to market. You look at the cost for LCL based on the dimensions of your product. How does that match up against a 20-foot box that you rent for yourself? Or how does it stack up against a courier? Okay? The customs broker will tell you, will guide you as to how to prepare your shipment, how to keep it secure in terms of the loading, and the relevant marks and declarations, the documents that are needed, and you will get guidance as to the coordination that is needed, the booking, the loading, the payments, the delivery, and the final documentation that is needed. And they will also liaise with Jamaica Customs. Okay, your price. Your price is a function of the cost, total cost, and the margin for yourself. You need to know your costs. You will know what your product costs based on inputs and cost to make it. But there are export-related costs that you need to be aware of. And you, even though you may not be paying this, what we call the uplift factors in the destination market will impact the final landed cost to your customer and therefore the competitiveness of your product. So even though you, based on the strict definition of a tariff, will not be paying a 10% tariff, it should be the buyer in the US paying the tariff, that 10% is going to increase the final cost to your distributor. You want to understand how your product is positioned in terms of final costs. So here is a sample of what export costs can look like. If you're loading on pallets, there's a cost for pallets. There's a cost to truck the container. If you're doing a full container, there's a cost to truck the container to your facility. There's a cost to take it back to the port. There are customs fees, customs administration fees, and so on. There's receival and delivery. that you have to pay on full containers. There is terminal handling charges, documentation fees. There's a chassis rental because the container don't sit on the ground, right? It sits on a chassis with wheels. There's a rental charge for that. There's a brokerage fee that you can negotiate, but it is well worth the investment. There is a minimal cost for your certificates of origin, but it can make the biggest difference to what your product lands at in the destination market. So I just did a rough costing on a 20-foot box of beverages to Cayman, for example. And it works out to an additional 64 US cents per case. I don't want to give that away. That's part of my profit. I want to incorporate that. So you need to know all your export costs because that's a part of your cost. Okay? Keep your records, keep your checklist, all the documents, all the payments. Why use a distributor? That's what they do. You are a manufacturer or producer. But distributors have the infrastructure to get your product to market. They have a distribution infrastructure, they have warehousing, they have access to different channels, and you can also work with them to help promote your product in market. The right distributor is going to make you or it's going to break you. And there's a way you can use resources that are available to you. JAMPRO has market information, the JMEA has market information, and we have consular offices in destination markets. And part of their brief is to build trade between participating nations. You can ask, you can find out, you can network with other exporters and come up with a short list of potential distributors. Here are some things you're going to look at when you're deciding on your distributor. You can rank them. Distributor A, distributor B, distributor C. How long have they been in business? What sectors do they service? How wide is their market coverage? You can look at their sales structure. Do they use sales reps? Is it a small operation? There's no right or wrong answer, by the way. You just need to be aware and make the decision that is best for you and your business. How is their financial health? And before I go any further, rule of thumb, get prepayment for your first 3 shipments. Those are your payment terms. Get prepayment, and that's standard. Even the first 2 shipments, that's standard. I work with a big company, but anytime I onboard new suppliers, they say, yeah, we know, we can see your financials, we know about Tradewin, Citrus, blah, blah, blah. But our standard procedure is that for the first shipment, cash in advance. So establish a partnership, start to do business with this distributor, but insist on prepayment before. Okay? Look at their technology. How do they maintain the integrity of the inventory under their care? Because you don't want to hear say goods were spoiled because they never rotate them properly, or they were damaged because of poor handling. Look at any conflicting lines. How are you sure that this distributor is going to give your product the attention that you want it to have? So you can assess all of these, rank them, and come up with the best answer. It is your product. This is your brain power, your sweat equity, especially if you are small and just starting out. Chances are you do everything, right? Protect it, treat it like that. Ask the questions. How will you know how well your product is doing? What is their track record in growing new brands and new products? You can ask, and then you can assess and see if this is a good fit for you. Stay current. There have been major changes since the beginning of this year. Regulatory guidelines are changing, especially when it comes to food products. You know, in the United States, again, our biggest market, export market, certain colorings and flavors are now against the law. They're going to be phasing it in. Does this affect your product? How do you know? The information is out there. I know certainly in the last couple of weeks, the JMEA has had open meetings for its members talking about the proposed fee on ships originating out of China, transiting through the US. And kudos to the CARICOM private sector organization who got all the stakeholders together in a room. The shippers, the exporters, the importers, and put together such a powerful negotiation paper and went to bat in Washington. And there has been what we call a carve-out for us in Jamaica so that the $1 million fee on China ships will not apply to us, right? Kudos to them. But this is what happens when you stay abreast. Your voice is able to be heard. You can talk about, you see this forum here? That points have been made. Delays at the port, changes in regulatory issues that will now inform next steps for the powers that be. It's important for your voice to be heard. Also bear in mind how the changes impact the inflow of your inputs and put in place mitigation strategies. Once upon a time, having one supplier that you put all your volumes with and you get a discount was the way to go. That's what we were taught in supply school. That's gone through the window since COVID. The risk of non-supply is bigger than the risk of somebody trying to take advantage of you because they have all your business in terms of cost. You better broaden your supply base. You have to, even agricultural, people who manufacture agricultural products here in Jamaica, you have to have a broad supply base, no? More than one farmer, more than one source because of supply risks. Here are some resources for exporters. The JMEA, the Customs Brokers and Freight Forwarders Association of Jamaica. Word of mouth. Word of mouth. Think about it. You go somewhere, you see somebody and their hairstyle look really nice. You might say, who is your hairdresser? You don't go to the yellow pages and look up hairdressers near to you. You see somebody doing what you want to do. You go to them and say, tell me where your hairdresser is. Tell me where your shop. Word of mouth. Ask. And you'll get a recommendation. The Bureau of Standards, the Scientific Research Council that can really help you with product development and standardization. And there are resources for you here today. We have representatives from the Shipping Association of Jamaica, JAMPRO, of course, who has convened this session, JIPO. I mean, that thing about Jamaica being slapped on the boxes of yams and so on coming from Central and South America is so painful. So painful because they understand the power that brand Jamaica is. And somebody in the destination market is dropping the ball by not verifying the certificates of origin. And guess who loses? Us. Because the supply becomes so much that the price goes down. There is Seaboard Freight and Shipping to guide you. DHL, Advantum, which can help you in terms of using technology to refine and optimize your business processes. Jamaica Customs, the Trade Board, and Exim Bank. Exim Bank is also here. So, before I close, I have a question for you. Based on all that you have heard, what do you think is the biggest risk that faces you as an exporter? Anybody? Yes? Lack of information. So, are you clear, or do you have in your mind now how you would mitigate that risk? What would you do? What's your next step? Yes. So we've been exporting over 9 years. Yes. Majority of the stuff that you guys are presenting, you know. We already have that. So I'm just looking from the perspective of a new exporter. Right. Them going in, not knowing what to do, that's the Okay, and the way, thank you so much. And the way to mitigate that is to be very clear on what you have to export, what's the nature of your product, where it is going to, and then going to the relevant resource. I would say start with JAMPRO and JMEA, and then from there you follow the trail. It's also helpful when you join an organization like JMEA. They can connect you with people who are doing something similar to you. The market is big enough for all of us. I promise you that. Do you know, just as a side note, that even competitor manufacturers in the business in Jamaica, we collaborate. One run out of sugar or something and we lend each other. We know this. So you're going to find, don't be afraid to approach a fellow exporter who has a similar product and say, I want to get into this. You're going to find cooperation and valuable information that hasn't made it to any of the slides you have seen here today. Networking is so important. Thank you. What's another huge risk? Yes.
Because I do e-commerce, I sell my products overseas.
Yes. Yes.
And I find that Jamaica Post ships I get Jamaica Post to send products into New York in 7 years.
At a fraction of the cost. For $3 US. Yes, sir. And you market your product like that.
When I tell the customer that I can do this, and say, yeah man, I'm quick to spend the $3.
Okay.
Because it is cheap, it is small.
But you see, you knew the right questions to ask. And this is what I hope comes out of this session. As you hear all these terms and resources being floated around, you need to know, say, where do I go? What do I ask?
DHL account. We use DHL and say, so we start to move the product from New York to Miami, and then the courier have to get up and carry it here far cheaper.
Okay, so that's a good point, but let me make a plug for DHL here. It might be that Jamaica Post does really well in New York, but you want to send your box to Germany. And Jamaica Post might not be so good. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. And DHL, in that case, may be a better option. But our participant here says, do your research. Find out where you can get your competitive edge and leverage that. Okay. Yes, sir.
All right, just a few things. One, you spoke a lot to high weight, high volume items. For the persons who are exporting high value, small weight, so you might be jewelry or so. I mean, we are very reasonable option.
Yes.
You have regular parcels, you have express mail service going into some countries. And we also have a product named Fast Track, which we do partner with DHL.
There you go.
So you have price points. So you have 3 different price points. So, just to say, we borrow sugar sometime too. Right? So I'm not knocking him. I didn't get up to knock him. I'm saying we do partner with them.
Very
so you have
good.
the 3 different price points. Yeah, but I'm saying, but for somebody who, it depends on, yes. So it depends. I'm just saying that you have options.
Thank you. Thank you. Give me another risk before I sum up and bring my presentation to a close. Any other risk jump out at you? All right, let me bring this to a close by, after I prepared my presentation, thought about it, documented, I said, I wonder what artificial intelligence will tell me, right? So I went to AI and I said, what are the biggest risks facing Jamaican exporters and how can they mitigate? And they ranked 7 risks for me. Here they are. The first risk is payment risk. The impact of that is high. The likelihood is medium to high. which means you need to sort this out first. How do you mitigate against this? You put in place cash in advance payment terms. You can use export credit insurance. There is something called that. The EXIM offers that. You can do a partial payment. You can also check out your distributor using, and you must do this, trade references. The second risk is logistics delays in shipment, right? How do you mitigate this? Use a reliable freight forwarder. Ship early with buffer time. That's very important now. And sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work. So I ordered a container of an input, and I told the supplier, land it in Jamaica mid-August. Me get an arrival notice yesterday. I cost, right? Because me no want, what am I going to do with it? 6 weeks early. Where am I going to put it? But the supplier was very apologetic and said they have been experiencing transit times that are normally double from that side of the world. And so they're really apologetic. So my next step is to negotiate. I said, all right, let's meet halfway. I understand the logistics risks, and you did what you had to do, so I get the product. Let's extend the payment terms. I now pay you according to the net 30. Give me extra. Let's share the pain. Let us share the pain, all right? The third risk is compliance failure. So an example, a food exporter could be denied entry to the US market due to non-compliant FDA labeling. What is the mitigation strategy? Consult the experts before. Attend training. Use question and answer checklists tied to your destination market. That's a quick Google search. A lot of information is available to us. And again, your broker, your potential customer in the destination market, tell me what is needed, etc. And the other risks they spoke about, currency risks, that comes back to pricing your goods. You have all your costs in Jamaican dollars. You're not selling in Jamaican dollars, you're selling in US. So you convert that to US dollars, but remember that the dollar slide. It's now yesterday the exchange rate was 161.19. So you're going to cost your goods at 165. Okay? The other, market access disruption. Market access disruption happens when one of your markets is no longer available to you for whatever reason. A tariff could be slapped on it, and so your distributor said, no, I'm not going to buy yam from you again. I'm going to go to Colombia because them don't have the tariff that was put on you. So you have to be aware of this. And what is the mitigation? Awareness, and also plan to diversify your market base. So I hope this was useful, and I want you to think about the intentions that I invited you to set at the beginning of this session. What did you intend? Not that you hope to get, set an intention. What did you intend to get out of this session? Have you gotten it? And as you think about that, I am here to remind you that we are engaging in possibility thinking. We have a style in Jamaica where you go to a resource person and the quickest thing they tell you is, no, that can't work. That's our style. That's how the reggae boys play football. It's called negative football. It's negative football. Nobody is pushing the ball forward. They are holding space and holding space. We need to break out of this, focus on the negatives first. This is a risk management session, you know. So I'm not telling you to pretend that risks do not exist. What I am suggesting to you is that as you identify the risks, you identify the mitigation strategies and put that in place. So this is a possibility thinking forum. Yes, you can do this. Ask the right questions of the right people. Get organized And then stay organized with your checklist. Yes, that basic tool. When my daughter did just start working and she said, boy, a lot of things all at once. Me say, what we used to do in the olden days is make a checklist, pen and paper. I said, no problem if you don't want to use pen and paper like your old mother. You can form that list though. There are too many apps and technologically driven solutions for you to get organized and stay organized. Keep records. This will inform how you replicate your process, how you change it, and provide a trail for when you, as you grow, in order to take advantage of some of the structures that are available to bigger, more formal enterprises. Follow up. That are your job. You have to know, you have to be responsible. You don't have to do everything, you know, but you are responsible for your consignment. Follow up. Make sure the trucker have what him for have, the port ID, the appointment, make sure the broker file, make sure the flight, make sure you know how the ship is routed. Follow up relentlessly. Leave nothing to chance. But them did say, they are not the ones that suffer. You, the exporter, and your brand are the ones that are in jeopardy. And if you buck your toe, if you make a mistake, you make sure that you learn from every experience and apply what you have learned going forward. Mistakes are not fatal. And yes, you can do this. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Let us give Kelly another round of applause for that excellent presentation. Okay, Kelly, I have this slide on the screen again because Kelly had mentioned it, and I just want to remind participants. At the end of this session, we have information stations set up outside of this room. On the screen are all the agencies who have set up information stations, and I'm going to invite you all to stop at these stations to, ask your follow-up questions, to start the research that we spoke about. So I'm going to invite you all to stop at these stations. Bear with me for a couple of more minutes. Kelly also spoke about the importance of insurance. We have Exim Bank here with us, Anita Mitchell, and I know they have a facility, the trade credit facility, insurance facility. Anita, if you could just speak for 1 minute on that facility, so that to just sensitize us as to what the facility is about.
Exim Bank does offer a product called the trade credit insurance. In a nutshell, we spoke about having done the whole, say we have a 110 hurdle, 110 meter hurdle, you've done your 110 meters, you've done your 100 meters. You've gone through JAMPRO, you've gone through everywhere else. And you reach the final part. I want my money. Your supplier, your buyer rather, is going to say to you, I'm bankrupt, I'm not able to pay you, I'm not. And you're here, no solution. But if it is that you had taken out a trade credit insurance with Exim Bank, you would have been able to recoup at least 85% of the value of that receivable, right? Mm-hmm. Say that you have strong buyers and you don't think the risk of non-payment exists. War and rumors of war is very prevalent. So if it is that tomorrow you hear that a particular supplier or a particular country is now in the midst of war and they cannot pay you, Exim will give you 90% in terms of if you cannot access your receivables. So I'll be at the JAMPRO desk.
JAMPRO information desk.
Right, you can come and speak to me. And just if you think, oh God, I don't need another insurance, let me tell you how cheap this is. If it is that you say you have made it to the point where you're now you're getting your invoice for $1 million, I just want $6,000. So if you calculate that, that's 0.6%, that's that's 60 cents per 100 Jamaican dollars, paying me $6,000, sorry, to recoup 85% or possibly 90% of your receivables is, you can wait. You wait. I don't think come on, how much you buy patty and juice for the other day? Patty and juice is $2,000. So $6,000 to ensure that in the event that something goes wrong is not a hard sell, right? And that's it. I'll be at the JAMPRO desk. You can always ask me questions there. I see a hand at the back, but I don't think I have time to take.
I'm going to ask to just hold off a bit on that question, because I also have the Bureau of Standards in the room. Kelly mentioned about the importance of complying with various market regulations, and the Bureau is a very critical agency that can assist exporters in terms of the regulations, the labeling regulations, that sort of a thing. So I'm going to ask Sharika Sachel, if she could just quickly, for 1 minute, Sharika, we're going to give you the mic, or you can.
Good afternoon. Come on.
Go ahead, Sharika.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon again. Ms. McIntosh asked us to have an intention for today. And I think I want to share my intention is that I want, when exporters are deciding what to do, where do I need to go, where do I need to get information, I'm agreeing JAMPRO, JMA are the places. But my intention is that by the time you leave here, you will consider that Bureau of Standards Jamaica is also one of those places that you must get some information from to begin with, right? And so I actually literally have a short acronym that says START. So you want to know how to start? I'm going to tell you how Bureau can help you to start. So Bureau can help you with the standards and the technical regulations. So whether you're new, whether you're an existing exporter, you want to know what the changes are to the regulations, the very same standards that are sometimes referenced in the regulations. Bureau of Standards have experts in Jamaica that sit on the committees that write these standards that you now have to be compliant with or to meet, right? And you also have an opportunity to sit on these technical committees to participate in those as well. For technical regulations, we're actually the national inquiry point of Jamaica. What does that mean? Every country that is a part of the World Trade Organization must inform the rest of the members of any regulations that are going to be promulgated for their country, for their products. And they usually send the information out when the regulations are in the draft stage, so persons can know what to expect, prepare for it. You have any questions about it, you can send comments and that kind of a thing. So you can literally participate in the creation of the very same regulations and standards that you're going to have to be meeting. Training, the Quality Institute of Jamaica. So the same regulations, requirements and so on, Bureau offers training through the Quality Institute. So it can help to build the capacity to understand what the regulations and the standards are asking you to put in place. And then when you go now to A, so we're doing START, we're at A, to actually apply. I just come up with it while I'm sitting here. Right? So when you're at the place of applying now what the requirements are, we actually have client services program where we handhold you. We try to go through the regulation. What does it mean? What does it mean? What usually best practice you can use to inform what it is that you need to put in place. So we have that service as well. We hear about record. And I don't mean record as in the final product to say I did something. I mean record in terms of just documentation. So we help you to understand what you need to have in place, product requirement, process control information, you do a training, have your certificate, all of those kinds of things, so you must record. The last part, T, test. We have accredited labs, right? So is your product safe? Does it meet the requirements of the country that it is going to go to? All of those things. We'll have the labs, microbead test, product test, chemical test, integrity tests for your packaging and etc. Label assessments, all of that. So you want a place to start with Bureau.
Thank you, Shariko. And I'm going to invite Shariko to hang around the JAMPRO information desk so that if there's anybody who has any questions, any additional questions of the Bureau, you can meet with her at that desk. All right. Just one more important tool before we close, and I have to put in my JAMPRO plug. JAMPRO has a tool called the Exporter Readiness Checker, and we encourage all of our prospective exporters, our aspiring exporters, to complete that tool so you can see the different gaps that exist in your business as you go along in preparing for your export journey. So I'm just going to ask our senior officer in our Exporter Facilitation Department, Janelle Brown, just to come up quickly to just speak about that tool so that when you leave here, you'll be able to access the tool. Janelle?
Hello again, everyone. Happy to see that so many of you have, joined us today. I'm just gonna quickly go through what our tool is here at JAMPRO. I don't have iPad. All right, so simple terms, what is your business ready to go global? It's a question that our tool helps you to answer, and what that tool does, it is a quick assessment that you can do online, and it asks questions that are directed to help you prepare yourself as an exporter. So when you go through that assessment tool, which is JAMPRO's Exporter Readiness Checker, it will, if you haven't started thinking about certain things in terms of preparation in finances, documents, markets, and doing that desk research or that research that you need in terms of whether you have a broker or you have expert information in terms of export shipments, it helps you to assess, all right, am I ready or do I have some gaps that I need to address? And when you go through and complete that quick survey, the results of it will then direct you either to get development help or to work directly with us in terms of preparing you for those markets because, you are now deemed ready for exports. So we will have at our information desk a QR code that leads you to that survey, and you can just scan the QR code, or if you're not so familiar with scanning the codes, you can also visit our website where the survey is hosted and just quickly go through that test. You don't have to come and do any deep studies before you do it. Just come honest, because what it really does is it tells you where you're at so you can know what next to do. And you will get that feedback from us, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. So please stop at the JAMPRO information desk to scan that QR code. All right, we're going to close, but before I close, let me see by show of hands if you thought that this session was very useful, very beneficial as exporters and potential exporters and as logistics service providers. Okay, great. All right. So what I want to do now, I want you to take 2 minutes before I wrap up to complete the evaluation form that you had scanned when you had registered at the registration desk. It's important for you to fill this out because once you submit it, you'll be able to get a recording of today's session. You'll also be able to get some of the material that was presented, for example, the checklist that Kelly provided, the templates, etc. So it's important that you complete that evaluation form with your name, your email address, and submit it so that we can send you the recording of today's session in addition to the material that was presented. So I'm going to ask you to take 2 minutes. Is there anybody in the room room who was unable to scan the evaluation form? So everybody has, let me see your hands. All right, I'm going to ask the JAMPRO persons, just keep your hands up. I'm just going to ask the JAMPRO person to give you either a hard copy or the QR code so you can scan. Keep your hands up, please. And in the meantime, those of you who have already scanned, just take 2 minutes to complete the evaluation form and submit it. So keep your hands up if you haven't gotten the form or the QR code. Okay, I think everyone has more or less have had access to that QR code and have completed the evaluation form. So at this stage, all that is left for me to do is to thank you all for participating and to just say a special thank you to all of our speakers. Mrs. Kelly McIntosh, who was our key presenter for today. Our 2 speakers from Jamaica Customs, Ms. Raquel Neath and Ms. Karen Wilson. Our presenters who spoke to the critical area of logistics, Mrs. Corinne Williams, Camille Kissoon, and Mr. O'Neill Webb. Thank you all for your very comprehensive presentations and informative presentations. I just wish to acknowledge as well and to say thank you to all of our resource persons who participated in the discussions and our stakeholders who have set up information stations, and just to say that your presence has really enhanced the presentations which were delivered today. I also wish to thank our audiovisual support team from AV Concepts for navigating the various presentations and ensuring that all the technical arrangements for today's session were in place. And last, but by no way least, I would like to big up my JAMPRO team for organizing today's session. Thank you, Team JAMPRO. Okay, just to remind you as well, and we have on the screen JAMPRO's contact information, but remember I said you can also stop at the information desk. Just to remind you as well that we will be hosting another exporters information session in our series on financing options for exporters on July 23rd at the Terra Nova Hotel. Do we have the details of that on this? Can we put that on the screen? Right. So that's going to be our next exporters information session. You can contact us at JAMPRO in terms of registration details, etc. So this now brings our formal session, or this segment of our session to a close. And as I said, we invite you to engage with the various information stations that have been set up outside of this room. Once you have engaged with the various information stations, we also invite you to have some light refreshments which have been set up outside on the terrace before you leave. So once again, thank you for your participation, and we wish you every success in your export journey. Thank you.